Hello, Parz Tano here, and welcome to inevitably 1 hour plus long video that I'm most certainly in almost guaranteed to not be any degree of confident in when uploading, and I'm already considering restarting, but I'm sitting in the middle of a fire hazard right now because I thought it would be a fun idea to record uh, in front of my music setup, like my speakers and shit, but like you can't even see that right now. Most of this is gonna be cropped out anyways. You can kind of see Flan right now, like floating off over there. Um, but yeah, this video is essentially gonna be me talking about my music collection, and then my general music tastes, how I got here, the type of things that I enjoy. Because I thought it would be interesting, and also because there was a certain video done by a certain digital boy back in the day that I recently rewatched. It was like 2 hours long, about music collection. I was like, you know what, that'd be cool. I have a sizable music collection, not one that like would warrant making a massive fucking video like the one that I'm about to make right now, but not. I don't know where I was going with that, but the point is, it's reasonable for me to talk about within maybe like an hour worth of time. So I'm gonna sort of get into it. I gotta shout out the Machine Girl shirt for those. Let me turn around. Let me turn around so you can see it. You can see it. All right. Um, I'm gonna start off with the early years, how I got into music. And it's gonna be sort of a breeze because I don't have much of that music with me right now. Um, but it's worth mentioning just to talk about how I got here where I am right now. Um, so when I first started getting into music, like most people, it was like stuff that your parents listened to, or just stuff that they played in the car. There was a few things that they liked that I thought was kind of interesting, but nothing that I was necessarily like a fan of, or something that I actively sought out to listen to myself. For the majority of my younger years, this might be a common story for a lot of like internet age type of people, because like radios aren't as prevalent anymore. So the main music listening device is like a phone, an iPod, a tablet, just anything like that. Um, Especially like before you start like knowing what you're going to get into, you're not necessarily going to be going out to buy CDs in like 2010 or something like that. Um, but it like I would just kind of listen to whatever my parents listened to, and I thought there were some things that were good, and I'm sure that there are still some songs that I remember from that era, but nothing like jumps out at me. It was just like if my dad was listening to it, I would listen to it. He said it was good. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. But I had not really developed much of a taste. I was kind of a blank slate at that point, and I was just kind of hearing what other people were saying was good, and I was like thinking about it myself, like, hey, is this actually good or not? This all changed though once I got my first tablet. It was a Kindle Fire. I can't remember if it was either the tablet or I got an iPod. I think that I both got them like within a year of each other, because during the time I grew up, I didn't grow up playing video games. I didn't grow up with it. Well, I grew up with a computer, but I mostly played like Flash games and stuff. I wasn't on YouTube or anything listening to music. Um, so my first real exposure to music was when I had my iPod and I had my Kindle Fire tablet. And some of the first bands that I started to get into were music that either I already knew from kind of like my own sort of exploring, or like mostly like movie and TV show tie-in music. Like the first real band that I got into was Linkin Park, because they had done some of the music for the Transformers live action movies, the ones by Michael Bay. So I started to get into their stuff, and I never have gotten out of Linkin Park. I still listen to Linkin Park these days. It's on my regular like rotation, I guess. Um, but when I first started exploring, I was kind of aimless. I had an iPod, but I didn't really use it for music. It was an iPod Touch, like it's like an iPhone without the phone capabilities. Um, but yeah, I had a iPod, I had a tablet. I used the tablet mainly for watching YouTube. I still have a Kindle Fire. It's like one of the newer models, and it's super comfy because you can immediately like sideload shit. You can just download APKs, so you could download Tachiyomi, and then like YouTube revanced now, and you basically have like a $50 manga and YouTube watching machine, and like they're so disposable. Like fuck e-waste, man. Just buy one of these pieces of shit, load it up, and then when it starts to get slow, you just dump it. You don't have to waste like hundreds of dollars on a tablet. But whatever. That's besides the point. The point is that I started to get kind of into music, but I didn't really start to get more into music until like I started to enter middle school. Specifically like the later stages of middle school. When I was like 12, 13, 14-ish. Because a number of things happened during this time. Um, I started to have like a friend group that like for the first time in my life, like an established one that didn't just last like a couple weeks or a month, or like people like called friends, but these were like actually people that I considered friends. And this is the last friend group that I ever had in my life. After the age of like 13 or 14, I never had like someone I can consider like a close friend like these people were. But they were heavily influential in my music taste. We kind of like shared stuff back and forth. Similar idea with like our taste in video games. One of the guys in the group, uh, who was my best friend at the time, was the one who was responsible for me getting into Pokemon. He gave me a sealed copy of Soul Silver on the Nintendo DS. Um, and then like amongst everybody else, we kind of like shared music, shared YouTube specifically. We're all like YouTube kids, I guess, watching really early PewDiePie stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it was during that time. It was that the friend group. I discovered Pandora, Pandora, the internet radio, which is sort of obsolete now. But that was a really good resource for exploring music. I started to get into some EDM that way. There was a group called Nero, who's done some stuff a lot of people know, I guess now. Uh, Prominently, they did the song Promises, I think, which was remixed by Skrillex. Got into Skrillex. I mean, we were like at this point all in on the dubstep era of like music, I guess, or like bro step. So I was in there, dude. I was in the trenches listening to bro step. I listened to a lot of Skrillex, um, as well. So I had that EDM, crap, what was it? Dead Mouse in there. A lot of like Minecraft YouTuber outro music. Is that a core, dude? It should be a core. Like Minecraft YouTuber in 2012 outro music core. Like if you know Monster Cat during that specific era of like 2011 to 2014, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. And since I was chronically on YouTube at this time, watching Minecraft shit, watching PewDiePie, I started to explore the music side as well. Um, this was prime era for like sepia toned Instagram type shit. That's the era we're in, but it doesn't necessarily reflect what I was into. It's just kind of like how I remember that, like a sepia haze during that time. Um, like Thrift Shop, Macklemore's Thrift Shop, Gangnam Style, obviously. Uh, that kind of stuff. I'm sure there's a few others that I could throw in there. Uh, I started to get into this one violin artist called Lindsey Sterling, and I was reflecting on this a while back, but because of this artist, she had done like travel vlogs and stuff and like tour vlogs, and I think those were the first vlogs that I ever got into. That and Fridays with PewDiePie, back in the day. Like that's what kind of set me up to be obsessed with YouTube vlogs. Um, and what was the other thing? I think those were just the three. Just like YouTube music, whatever my friends were into, and Pandora, I guess. Um, Towards the end of middle school is when we started to get a little edgy. That's when I started to explore like post-hardcore. Prior to that, I was into bands like Green Day. One of the friends in that group, who I try to suppress from memory because of specific incidents that I will not nor never get into. Uh, was really obsessed with the band Green Day. So I got into Green Day, obviously. I think I have a copy of American Idiot and Dookie next to me, which I'll get into in a second. But that person was responsible for getting me more into the like the alternative shit. Uh, this was past the scene core era, so we were kind of like stragglers. But since at the time we were like between the ages of 12 to 14, that was the kind of shit that we were into. So Green Day started, but then we started to get a little more edgy. Uh, Towards the end, it was more post-hardcore stuff, and this was around the time that uh, it wasn't the last year that it was run, but we were closing in on the tour date in our city for a Vans Warped Tour. I don't know if it's specifically the Vans Warped Tour, but it's just the Warped Tour. If you're familiar with that, you kind of know what to expect. The type of music that we were getting into. It sort of ranges, at least towards the end when I was paying attention to it. I never went though. I should say. Around the time that like I was more familiar with it was like the music in bands that performed ranged from like soft boy indie rock shit to like metalcore, and there might have been some deathcore in there or death metal. I don't think it was death metal. It was like deathcore. Like who the fuck is that one? Like Alita, shit, Attila is the one I'm thinking of, and they're not even deathcore. They're something else entirely. Um, but I was more like on the like if it's a range, I was more on the chaotic good side of things, listening to Pierce the Veil. Uh, I Yeah, I got into Pierce the Veil around that time. I have a kind of complicated relationship with that band. Um, Primarily because like it's almost hilarious. Like th- and this is the point where I should mention that you should leave your cringe at the door. This is not a video for cringe or anything like that. Uh, I'm like I never. Maybe I'm in a unique situation, but none of the music I've ever listened to I consider like cringe, or stuff that I can't return to. Like even bands that I have a difficult relationship with for either like direct what they did or indirect like external factors surrounding my enjoyment of that music because of either the people who introduced me to it or my story arc at the time. Like I've never been able to like completely block out an artist and say I never liked them, because I have to acknowledge the fact that yeah I did listen to this person in this band, and yes I did like it, and I can still return to it at certain points when I'm either nostalgic or just like there's a certain mood that music evokes, and I want to kind of remember that era, I guess. Uh, so Pierce the Veil, uh, it kind of it's almost poetic in a way because Pierce the Veil was the one of the favorite bands of the first person who was almost my girlfriend, and the a band that I mutually bonded over with the last girl I ever spoke to. So it's kind of like I said, it's kind of poetic in the sense that it's that way, and everything in between that happened. Like I've been consistently, well, maybe not consistently, but like almost cyclically, like maybe every 2 years, like I'll get into that band again and I'll re-listen to, uh, crap. What's their second record? Um, Mostly like the early stuff. Everything before Collide with the Sky, I fuck with, but yeah, I guess that's kind of a like a brief overview of my early years listening to music. I obviously brushed over a lot. Like when I tried to get into hip hop, like I like everybody else had listened to "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, but I never got into hip hop. I never got into like dad rock and shit. Uh, so yeah, I mean that's kind of like where I'm coming from, and then moving on from there, it was mostly like me kind of knowing what the type of shit that I'm into, and a reoccurring theme for my music uh, enjoyment career, I guess, is that like I don't follow trends, and I kind of just listen to whatever the fuck I think sounds cool, regardless of like if it relates to a particular idea. Like, is there like a thematic through line through all of these? Probably not. I listen to stuff that a lot of people would consider weird or cringe, maybe intentionally obscure. I mentioned this to someone somewhere like a couple months ago that like I'm not sure if it's like a chicken or the egg scenario when it comes to my music taste. Like, am I intentionally making my taste really weird in picking obscure artists to get into because I don't want to relate to other people's music taste? And is that why, like, I never talk about music to other people? Or is it because I listen to these artists unironically that I can't talk to music with these people? But generally speaking, like, you could have a conversation. I probably explained that stupid. But the point is that you can have conversations with people about music regardless of if you share any music taste at all. Like, I talk to my brother pretty often about music, and he mostly listens to like mainstream rap and hip hop. But we share a bit of a common ground in terms of like where our tastes kind of intersect, or we could just talk generally about music. Uh, I'm going to talk generally about some of the collection I got here. I'm not going to get super in depth into it. Um, right here, I have mostly my non-Japanese shit. My other pile is Japanese shit. Then I'm going to kind of like tell the story about it. After 2014, 2015-ish, my music taste starts to level off and it's mostly been the same. Like, that's around the time when I discover more EDM. I start drifting away from dubstep and more towards like trance, house, you know, drum and bass, that kind of stuff, as well as getting into Japanese music. Specifically around 2015 is when I get into Japanese music through Ling Toshi Shigeru, Stereo Pony, Scandal, and probably a few others. I might mention them a little bit later. After that sort of levels off. But like I said, I'll touch on everything. It's mostly just like a precursory background to explain what I got here. There are specific eras that I do want to talk about more. Like, I want to talk about how Osu influenced my music taste. I might touch on it a little bit here when I mention my J-core stuff, but I think that's a video all on its own, and I think it would have merit to talk about individually like that. I got a couple, mostly CDs. I got a couple tapes behind me. I have a video about my tapes. If there's anything that I need to mention about the tapes, I will mention. But if I forget, there's a video for that on my second channel as well. Probably the channel this video is going to be uploaded to. I also have a couple vinyl, but I'll mention that in due time. No real structure to it, just going to chat. Got a stack here. This is, I think, mostly non-Japanese shit. At the top, I have the Downward Spiral by 9 Inch Nails. I'm going to move the stack out of the way. Downward Spiral by 9 Inch Nails. I purchased this one on sale for 99 cents. It's not the super audio CD version of it, which is the one I wanted, but for 99 cents, I couldn't pass it up. I got into this album last summer. After putting off listening to 9 Inch Nails for a long time, I just couldn't get into them. Finally listened to Downward Spiral, got into it. I realized like kind of like the theming behind it, and I was like, I fuck with this album. Good stuff. Here's the aforementioned Green Day's American Idiot. I think there's a lot has been said about this. This album is like peak 2013 to me. Listening to this on a green iPod Nano second generation was almost like completely representative of my 2013 life. I still like Jesus of Suburbia. I mean, it's overplayed, but whatever. Here's when I got into more metalcore and post-hardcore stuff. I got a couple records from this era. Devil Wears Prada. Which one is this? With Roots Above and Branches Below. This album is pretty solid. I have a lot of skips in this one, I think. But I picked this one up because it was in a discount section. I thought it was really cool that they had Devil Wears Prada. Like a used bookstore or something, which you usually don't see that kind of stuff. You see mainly like mainstream shit. A Day to Remember. Album name. What separates me from you? Shit. Some of these names I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is solid all throughout, dude. Like I returned to this and I was doing like a reassessment of like my 2013, 2014, 2015 era of like when I was a lot into post-hardcore and metalcore. And this is one album that I returned to, and I'm like, I fuck with this. It's really good. Uh, like if you kind of like this stuff, um, I mean, if you're like a hardcore pretentious metalhead, you're probably not gonna like this. But I have no taste, and I am not afraid to like anything, regardless of how it's perceived. Um, and I give anything the benefit of the doubt. And this album, this album rocks. There's a couple of really good songs on here. A couple songs towards the end, like "You'll Be Tails, I'll Be Sonic," that I didn't listen to until like much later because I would like skip a lot of stuff. And plus, I would listen to a lot of music on YouTube in my early days, so there would be a couple songs on the record that I just didn't listen to because I didn't know were on it, and I only got back to it later on when I started to get on Spotify and stuff. Um, American Football is self-titled. My mom got me this one for Christmas because I asked her for it. Uh, iconic, iconic, emo, Midwest emo, which is the era, not the era, but it's the region of the United States in which I call my home. I'm not going to mention any more than that, but American Football is, uh, this album right here was like on repeat for a while. And if you know, and I got really into emo, so like if you know this album, and you kind of know the headspace, this was like 2016 Parz. Uh, Here's another emo record, The Promise Ring, Nothing Feels Good. I picked this one up really cheap because I was like, holy crap, they got a Promise Ring there, and it's pretty solid. I don't have too much to say about it. I think it's a good album, good emo. This is not too interesting. Top Shelf Record sampler, unopened. I got this with a record I'm about to mention in a little bit. I'll talk about that in a second. MTV, or Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New York. Is that it? Yeah. I haven't listened to this one yet. I intend to. Last summer, I started to get more into Nirvana, and I wanted to listen to their entire discography, but I didn't finish it. And I was intending to cap this off at the end as like a send off for this little listening project, but I never finished listening to some of their stuff. Picked this one up, pretty cheap, discounted. I mean, everybody knows this. Everybody fucking knows this live album. And I've listened to a couple selections from this one already, just not in its entirety. Solid fucking album right here. Evanescence Has Fallen. This one right here. I got really into it last year. I used to be into this one a lot, like in 2012. Listening to some of the music videos on YouTube prior to knowing like the whole memes about it and shit. I gave it an honest listen about a year back when I was like getting nostalgic about some stuff, and you know, I enjoy it, dude. I enjoy it. It's certainly like the most 2003 thing ever, and I appreciate it for that. There's some good stuff in there as well. I have 2 copies of Gore Shit's and Hitori Tori's Split. They accidentally sent me 2. Kitty on Fire accidentally sent me 2. I mean, so if anyone wants one, I probably could give it to you, but I'm not gonna ever meet you, so I just have 2 copies. And unfortunately, it's an album that I'm not too keen on. I'm not a huge fan of this one, even though Gore Shit's my favorite artist. And then last but not least, we got Green Day's Dookie. I haven't actually finished listening to this one, but it's a classic, so got that one there. I don't know why that one wasn't. Hold on. I don't know where I put the CD for this one. But whatever. It's probably somewhere else. Maybe it's in a car or something. Now I'm gonna go on over to my next stack. Let me grab that. All right. I realize most of these aren't in order, but I don't really give a shit. The album I set aside a second ago was Tricot's Makuro. This one, hey, look, you could see something over there. You could definitely see. I think you can see my phone. But the album cover is just black. I picked this one up in Tower Records in Shibuya when I was in Tokyo. This one is a special edition, so it has the second CD, which is has it was actually a DVD, so it has some of the music videos. This right here, dude, this is this is my favorite Tricot record and my favorite album that I listened to last year. I knew about Tricot before. I started to listen to them more and more and more, and before I knew it, like I was just listening to Makuro back to back, like constantly. This one right here, it went from like a 4 to a 4.5 to a 5-star album using Rate Your Music's scoring system, which I guess I should mention that I do use Rate Your Music. A couple people know me on there. Username is just parz. At the time of recording this video, my profile picture is a parody of Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine. I think that's the name of the album. But I put Pretty Love Machine and I have Koishi behind it, so that would be me. But yeah, I use that a lot, and that's how I've discovered a lot of music within the past 2 years, I guess, since I've been using it. Here's a cool one. DJ Kuroneko's Neko Garage. I picked this one up from the label Mad Breaks. Sick label, run out of Mexico. They're constantly, like, compared to a lot of other bigger labels, they put out stuff constantly, and they have cool merch, and their shirts are good. Like, I have 2 of their shirts, and they're both fantastic heavy cotton shirts. Amazing screen printing. I've worn and washed them for like a year at this point. Worn them consistently. Amazing stuff. Like, yeah, $20 shirt and then $10 shipping, but if you like the designs, the shirt quality is fantastic. It's much better than anything you could get on like Redbubble or whatever. I mean, it's like a $50 t-shirt you're getting for $30. I gotta shill the label because they put out stuff constantly. Cool graphic design. Some of their albums even have unique cover art. Here we go. It's also reversible. So they put a lot of effort into their releases. And they do physical releases, I said, frequently, more than most small labels typically do. Good ass little label right there. Highly recommend. Especially if you like breakcore, lowlycore, that kind of stuff. Like, if you're watching this video, you probably listen to lowlycore, so Mad Breaks. Here's one I haven't listened to yet. This one is a single from the OVA Sotsugyo Graduation, which I ended up watching the OVA for this. I picked this one up at a convention last year. I watched the OVA, and it turns out the OVA is a sequel to another series, which is a spin-off to Dokyusei, which I will be buying that game eventually, and I want to watch the OVAs for that. But I thought that was interesting. It's also interesting to note, like, compared to a standard CD, how small it is, because it's just like a little mini CD, maybe not that big, but like this big, with only like 4 songs on there, 2 songs and then the karaoke versions of them. Here's one that I picked up last year. I imported. Planetary Suicide by Yuyo Yuppie. I can't talk about 2016 Parz without mentioning Yuyo Yuppie and just generally edgy Vocaloid shit. On my Rate Your Music page, rateyourmusic.com/ is it just like tilde Parz or whatever, or profile Parz, but my username is Parz. You will know it's my page because I have a giant list of get into alternative Vocaloid music. Yuyo Yuppie is on there. Big fan of this one. This Planetary Suicide. For a Sick Girl, I got super fucking into. And what's the other one? There's like 3 or 4. But then also like artists like Utsup, which I have in here somewhere. And then a couple of other smaller name ones like Okame P and stuff like that. IG Vocaloid music was my stuff. It's my jam. Still my jam. And then next up I got 3, which I'm going to talk about concurrently, which they are under 17's best 1, best 2, and best 3, which I don't really need to talk about because I have an hour and 47 long minute video on the main channel all about. I picked these up from Japan, imported, fantastic quality of both the music and the CDs. I also have the what is it, live at it's not Tokyo Dome, but I have the one, not the last, but the second to last live, I think, something like that. But it was a special edition. Regardless, Denpa, maybe not so much Denpa, but they are more Akiba pop. One of the most influential Akiba pop bands out there. Later went on to influence Mosaic Wave. Koike is a guitarist. He went to Koike Masaya. He went to later work with Mosaic Wave, and he's been around. Momoi Haruko now works in the industry. Under 17 facts. Watch the video about that, but there's that. I think it's one of the only Denpa CDs that I got around here. I guess I could talk about these next 2 concurrently as well. I picked these up from a con. They're still in their packaging, but I've opened them. I just put them back in to protect from dust. The reason I know that is because I used EAC Exact Audio Copy. Is that the name of the program? But I used that software so then I could clean lossless rips of this, because for people who don't know, I'm a bit of an audiophile, and like I have a massive collection of in-ear monitor headphones. For the layman, they're earbuds, but I'm pretty big into headphones, audio. I have a expensive audio setup, maybe not expensive compared to some people, but more expensive than you probably have. But I get a lot of CDs because they're easy to rip using Exact Audio Copy, and then having a clean lossless audio files on your desktop, which of course you can always download everything from SoulSeek or RU Tracker or whatever, but sometimes just making your own copies, especially for stuff like this. These are singles. There's only a couple songs on here. These are both Kotoko records, but sometimes with the like, more obscure releases, it's better to just pick up yourself. And you could always downsample to 320 kilobits MP3s. But we got Second Flight right here. And then this one is Love a Riddle and I Can't Get Over Your Best Smile. These 2 songs are 2 of my favorite Kotoko songs during the time when she was collaborating with Ive Sound. It was like trance-inspired J-pop. Super good stuff. Kotoko is an amazing artist. I love listening to her stuff. Mostly like the older stuff though. Like her newer stuff is still fantastic. Like Needy Girl Overdose. Is that the name of the song or the visual novel or game or whatever? Regardless, that new song is still hits, dude. It still hits. And she's like 30 now. Short Circuit 2, the aforementioned Ive Sound, they collaborated with a couple artists here. One of them was Kotoko. The other one was someone I don't remember. It doesn't say her name on here. But this is a more Denpa, but it has a lot of electronic influence. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like Denpa in terms of like the Denpa alignment chart. This one is pretty like lawful good, especially compared to a lot of other stuff. It's fairly tame. Like if you want to get into some Denpa stuff, listen to this. This is more like 2000s J-pop for anime fans and hardcore otaku, as opposed to like like straight Denpa for like brain dead otaku and Akiba, and I think this one's a special edition because this is anime on the back, so it probably has some anime exclusives. I just haven't opened it yet, though I have listened to all the Short Circuits. Next up is the Uma Speed Arubamu. It's basically a bunch of Caramel Danson remixes. I picked this one up for obvious reasons when I made the last video a couple years back. Shit, it's been like 2 years since I released the Caramel Danson video. But it has Caramel Danson Speedy Cake remix as well as a couple other ones. It has a cool like holographic image on the front where like if you change positions, the girls do the little Uma dance. That one was imported as well from Japan. I mentioned Mad Breaks earlier. This one is this jewel case is falling apart. I don't think this. Yeah, this one is falling apart. I think I switched cases out for this one. But this one is a compilation. I think it's their. I want to say it's the first compilation that they did. Here's the back. It's a 2 CD compilation, mostly from music that artists that are on their label are tangentially related. So you have the likes of Gunslinger R, Aphex Twin Sucks, Golden Eggs. Who else is on here? Elector. Oh, I know Elector. They've done a couple other stuff. I wanted to say DJ Kuroneko was on here, but I guess not. You know, it's a lot of mashcore, lollycore stuff. Pretty cool. Just the album is falling apart. Let me move these. Shinigawa Satellite's Dead Weight. This album right here, I got really into Toho music like mid 2017 until like late 2019. It was almost exclusively what I listened to. Shinigawa Satellite is one of my favorite Toho bands. People probably know them for the lineage of artists related to that band. So like if you know Foreground Eclipse, it was like a post-hardcore Toho a rearrangement group, I should probably specify. So they would take music and themes from the original Zune produced music, rearrange the tracks, use the same musical motifs, and kind of readapted it. Like Toho music is a huge fucking ocean of its own thing, but this Shinigawa Satellite, formed by a lot of the same members from Foreground Eclipse, including the vocalist Murami Pop. She also went on to do vocals for a lot of other groups, guest appearances. The Toho Dojin music scene is pretty insular, so sometimes you'll see a lot of collaborations back and forth, especially with a big artist like Murami Pop. She's everywhere. The band eventually broke up after this album. I believe it was after this one. This was their last like quote unquote studio album, like big Comic Cat release. And then after that, the group splintered. But I think the main guitarist and Murami Pop returned to form Kachi Kachiyama. And they're still putting out music to this day. They started off doing a lot of similar stuff to like what you would hear from Shinigawa Satellite. Like some post-hardcore, except with a little bit better production and like some genty like guitar fun in there. A little bit heavier maybe. This was a little bit poppier. Kachi Kachiyama started a little bit more out there with some fun bass gent stuff. Slightly heavier, more growled vocals. But slowly they've been evolving, and now they're incorporating like hip hop and metal in the same thing. Not quite like Attila, but they're doing some interesting stuff there, I should say. Super Mario Galaxy original official soundtrack. This one came with my Wii back in the day, so I just have it. Nothing too fun to mention there. Full Moon o Sagashite final live album. Full Moon o Sagashite. Watch this gosh damn anime. It's so good. But this is the album right here. There's a couple songs on there you probably can't realize, and I just hit the microphone. Sorry. But it has songs like Eternal Snow, Changing My Life, Smile, Myself. Like all the main image songs from this anime are in here. Songs that will guarantee to make you cry if you've seen it before. Watch Full Moon Osagashite. It's a fantastic anime. Uh, Probably easily the best shoujo anime that I've seen. T-Pazolite songs for X-Girls. I would say I'm a pretty decently big T-Pazolite fan. Hardcore Tano-C stuff I got into when I was first getting into J-Core. I got into T-Pazolite because of Osu. The song specifically, Canon. Actually, I don't think that's the name. But if you search up Canon T-Pazolite, you'll know what I'm talking about. And you might even know the beat map. I picked this one up at a convention for $20 because it was I saw T-Pazolite, and I'm like, I like Vox Diamond. The album is not like the best T-Pazolite work, but I had to pick it up. Retrospective 53 minutes. This is a Zune arrangement album. So basically, with Zune Music, like he will release the MIDI tracks for the he'll compose music, and then when you're playing the games, it's in MIDI, and then some of the music he will go back and rearrange with like proper instrument programming, and he has a series of these arrangement albums that you've probably already heard of. If you're watching this video, you're probably a Toho fag. I'm just assuming, but they're all fantastic. I recommend giving them a listen. I just found this retrospective 53 minutes at a convention as well. Had to pick it up. It's not my favorite Zune rearrangement. That would go to Magical Astronomy, I want to say. But still good. I mean, it's Zune music. This one right here is an Idolmaster Best Album, Master of Master. I picked this one up initially because I was into the anime, but this one's actually mostly from the games. So the seiyuu are a little bit different. But this one is basically all the best Idolmaster OG music. 2 CDs. Good stuff. I've gone back and listened to it. Highly recommend if you're Idolmaster fan. I got a couple Lucky Star CDs that I got when I purchased a secondhand box set, the old Bandai one. The first one is the opening right here. Moteke Seidafuku right here. I haven't opened this one, and I probably never will, just because it came sealed. This box set came out in 2008, let's say, and I purchased it in like 2019, and it had been sealed the entire time. This CD right here hasn't been opened ever, and I'm probably never going to open it. Like, there's no reason for me to do it. I've listened to Moteke Seidafuku like 100,000 times at this point. And I just like the novelty of having it sealed. If you open it, it will smell like 2008, man. But I have opened this one right here. This is a single. I think I have another single for them. It might be in the box. But this one is a Lucky Star character song selection. This one's Konata's. And now that I'm mentioning it, I think I have another Lucky Star one in the box set behind me here, as well as 2 or 3 Haruhi ones that are in the box set. But I just don't have them with the rest of my music. I'd even have a couple more. I mentioned earlier, Utsupi, this one's unique. I purchased this one because it was his latest album. Listen to this. I wasn't into it at first, but it started to grow on me. It's a little bit different. Like, he's been evolving his sound, and I initially wasn't too into it. But like I said, it grew on me. It's kind of what he's doing now. Uploading on his YouTube channel, he's putting out new music, and I was initially like not super hot on some of them because they're kind of unusual, mysterious, not metal, but I listened to them again and I'm like, okay, I kind of see what's going on. I'm gonna have to wait for the full release, but I respect what he does, and I whatever direction that Utsupi goes, I respect. This one came with it. It's a postcard. It's one of the bonus songs remixed by Pinocchio P. On the back is a QR code, but I'm not going to show that. Random ass Aiori Aoshi, like soundtrack. This is like soundtrack 2 or something. For some reason, not for some reason, I picked this one up on Right Stuff because occasionally Right Stuff does like a bargain bin sale, and I picked this one up dirt cheap, along with a couple other random manga for like $1. It's usually a bunch of garbage, but sometimes you find old shit, like legacy stuff that's been sitting in the Right Stuff warehouse for a long time. Right Stuff is used to be an anime distributor, and now they are kind of like the Amazon for anime distribution stuff, and they've sort of like, what's the word? They sort of like started to bring a lot of other companies under their wing, sort of forcefully, I guess. Sentai Filmworks is now part of Right Stuff, so they're kind of like monopolizing it almost. But they do. I don't know if they've done these recently, because anime sales, especially after 2020 during the pandemic era, they've just gone completely down the drain. Like, you don't see the sales like how they used to. So they might not do those deals anymore. But sometimes you find random ass shit, like the CDs, like this one I picked up. Sometimes manga. I picked up a couple random volumes of a manga. I'm looking at my shelf right now. Like, there was this one Fujoshi one I picked up completely randomly because they had it. But whatever, I'm rambling. 4 Degrees Celsius. This one is a female-fronted post-hardcore band that I am literally probably the only fan of. This record's called Color Chord. This crack is how it was bought. I forgot what happened with this one. It might have been like for birthday or something. But I put on my Christmas list like a bunch of albums, and my mom got me this one for some reason. Imported from Japan back in the day. And it took like 2 months to arrive. But I might be the only one who owns this album in the United States. Which is kind of cool. If there are FLAC files floating around of it, I'm the one who ripped them. I can't remember if I've done a rip, or if I've uploaded them before, but if there are FLACs, I'm probably the one who did it. Because for the longest time, I couldn't find any FLACs. Actually, there might be Russian ones, so I might be wrong, but whatever. Last but not least, Nogizaka 46. This one is Itsuka Demo, or not actually, Shitsure Kamimashita. Itsuka Dekiru Kara Kyo Dekiru. I believe it is. It's a single. I don't remember which version it is. Because the thing with this idol shit is that they will release like 5 different versions, especially like these big like AKB, Nogizaka, Kayakawa, something like that. But they have 100 of these like 46 or 48 groups now. They will release like 50 versions of the single. Well, not 50, but like 5. Each one's with a different selection of girls on it, with the intention of like, if you're a fan of one specific girl, like I was a fan of, I think Nishino Nanase is on this one. I don't remember. But anyways, if you're a fan of like a specific girl, you will like, I want to buy the single where she is in it, because it will be like a specific arrangement of the song that's specific for this one. And I believe that's how it works. Because there's different versions of each single. I just want to double check. You said none of the girls I was into, so I don't know what I was thinking when I picked this one up. But I had a pretty serious idol arc back in 2017. That was like literally all I cared about. That was around the same time I bought the Idolmaster. I got really into Idolmaster. But I'm not really into, especially like 3D PD idols, I'm not into anymore. I've continued to be into Idolmaster, Cinderella Girls, and whatnot over the years. So some things never change. also want to mention this now. I was just thinking about it. Blue Girl on a Sunday. I picked up this tape from Kitty on Fire Records. This is the Gore Shit album with Gore Trance 7 on it. But a couple other iconic songs like Super Special and Pawn, Peak. Well, maybe not peak, but like it was Lowly Quote era Gore Shit, and he's putting out more stuff these days physically. So I picked this one up immediately. This one isn't in my cassette video, tape video, because I got this one recently. Same deal with Level Select by Pizza Hotline. This one actually is the Sega Genesis Special Edition from, what's the label? City Man Productions. It's on the back. So it's intended to be like a Sega Genesis game, which is sick, but also kind of weird because this entire album is mostly a homage to PS1. Not even the same fucking generation. This is like 32. It's 32-bit on the outside, but 64-bit on the inside. Or was the PlayStation 32-bit or was it 60-bit? I don't remember. But there's some cool stuff. I'm just gonna flip through it. Now finally, we could talk about the vinyl records. Let me grab them. In no particular order. I do actually have a turntable. I'm not a poser. It's a cheap Audio-Technica one. No, not cheap, but it's kind of like a basic Audio-Technica one, which is perfectly fine for my needs because I don't spin vinyl all the time. But if I do ever get in the mood, it's usually serviceable. I have it on the other side of the room over here. It's not like it's because it's hooked up to my amp, which is hooked up to my headphones on my desk, which I will listen to music more at my computer as opposed to over here. I have a tape deck behind me. It is JVC WD444. I have an actual tape deck behind me, as well as cassette players. I have a Sanyo one that's been my daily driver. First up, it's actually two. I don't know why it's two. This is Street Glow by DJ Kuroneko. This one was released by Kuroneko themselves. This is a fantastic a breakcore record. Not really breakcore, it's more like atmospheric DMB, but unironically atmospheric, not like some other artists that we'll not be mentioning right now. I think this was my favorite DJ Kuroneko release. I do like a few of their other stuff, and I also like Neko Garage a little bit, but I'm not always in the mood. But like Street Glow is kind of like what I consider my favorite era or like favorite type of production from Kuroneko. I even have a t-shirt from DJ Kuroneko. I guess I'm a fan. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of DJ Kuroneko themselves more or Goko Aruri, but yeah. Next one is it's almost a meme. Shit, I just dropped a key. It's kind of a meme. An airplane over the sea. I haven't even opened this one. I got this one because it was really, really cheap at the time of buying it. And I was listening to some of the songs from it. I mean, it's kind of it's self-explanatory. I think there's some good stuff in here. Next up is another one that's unopened because I haven't gotten around to listening to it. At least on vinyl, I've listened to it extensively digitally. Pale Swordsman by Kekhe. Shit, how do you pronounce his name? This is when discerning the scrawl of black metal artists is kind of complicated. Kekhe Araka. Some people call this Drain Gang black metal. Some people call it romance black metal. It's kind of like twink black metal, to be completely honest with you. And I'll be the first to admit that, but I like it. This is pretty good. I got into it. And I had to purchase a physical. I also have the tape Night in Love, I think it's called. But I picked up Pale Swordsman on wax because that's the album I like a little bit more. Next up, self-explanatory, Wolf Girl on vinyl. This was released by Orange Milk Records. Kind of went pretty hard. I kind of went pretty hard with Machine Girl stuff for a while. Obviously, the shirt. I have the Wolf Girl long sleeve. I have Wolf Girl on vinyl. Two vinyl records here. I have I'm Young and Arrogant and Hate Everything. Because I'm Young and Arrogant and Hate Everything You Stand For on tape, as well as Gemini on tape. I think Uvoid Synthesizer is on wax now, but I don't care about that album enough to have it on wax. If it was on tape, I would pick it up. But I'm a Machine Girl fan. I really want the Machine Girl Mix Volume 1 on tape, but I don't think it's ever been released because it's for a number of reasons. Maybe unsanctioned, unsanctioned remixing or whatever. But whatever. Next we got the edgy shit. We got Ever Since by Blade. I had my Drain arc a while back. Still like this album a lot. This is easily the best Blade album. I had to do a double take because in the time since I started to shift to thinking that Working on Dying is better, but Ever Since is still better. Yeah, this one's a special one. I picked this one up in the second drop because they did initially one vinyl drop. I think I completely missed that one. This was the second one. I managed to pick this album up with like arms shaking because it was such like a rush of people trying to grab them for such a limited release. I only went for Ever Since. The vinyl itself is blue. This is like actually a sticker on here. Here's the back. What else can I show with this one? Because this one's cool. There's a number of goodies in here. The sleeve itself is different. It just says Blade. Is that? And then I think I dropped something else. Some classic GTBSG era art. Yeah, this is good stuff. I was way more into Drain in like late 2021, early 2022. Kind of like the only music I was listening to. The first and only time I've ever done an edible, I listened to Ever Since, and I totally tapped out of this realm. I don't know, nothing really much to explain. I think Romeo and Blood Veil and Stillborn and are like some of the best stuff that Blade's ever done, and it's kind of been downhill from there. I'm not really going to comment on the newer stuff, but moving on. Continuing with the theme of edgy shit that most people might not want to admit owning, but Sewer Sluts, The World is Fucked. Honestly, bought this only for the song I Really Like You Part 2. This is actually kind of falling apart. Yeah, nothing much to it. I'm not a huge fan of Sewer Slut. And last but not least, one of my prized possessions next to the Ever Since vinyl, Tricot's And on wax. This one is almost their best. This used to be my favorite Tricot album. Actually, that's a lie. This is like my third favorite. It's always kind of been like my second favorite, because what's the other one? The I don't know why I spelled that. That was stupid, parz. God damn it, parz. But there's some good songs on here, like No Adrenaline. Colorless Aquarium. But yeah, I'm just happy to own another Tricot album on vinyl. I wish there was more. I really want to get and I really want to get Makuro, but I already have the special edition for Makuro, so it's kind of a moot point. Uh, the actual record itself is like this Neapolitan coloring, like vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. Tricot is just a band that just has fun, and their music is amazing. This one shouldn't be on the bottom; it should be towards the top. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it with my music collection. That's how much I own. Basically, what I own represents my music taste, pretty to a T, I would say. There's a couple things in here that I don't really listen to anymore. But generally speaking, like I don't really have any genre biases anymore. I used to be anti hip hop, not really that anymore. Thanks to the artist Shinigami, Blade, Little Peep. I got into emo rap with those three. And then from there, I realized that hip hop can actually be good. And from there, I kind of evolved. This past week, I was listening to a lot of Lil Ugly Mane. Um, I guess with those three artists, you call that like white people rap taste, but I don't give a shit. I listen to a lot of EDM. I don't have a lot of EDM on physical media. Like DJ Sharpnel is incredibly lacking around here, primarily because a lot of his releases are difficult to acquire, very expensive, or might not ever have been released because they were like a DJ mix or something. Especially in the digital era, it's hard to get music physically. I would say I'm primarily a tape collector. I have a lot of tapes here, and the reason I say that is because oh, spooky, something just like leaned over really slowly. I mentioned that in my tape video, but like in terms of novelty, when an album that I like has a physical version of it, 9 times out of 10 I will go for the tape, just because if it's available, just because at that point I can already assume that I own some sort of, or maybe not own, but like I have acquired the digital files for it. So there's almost no point in getting a CD, because at that point I probably already have the lossless flax lying around on my computer. So there's almost no point in having the CD, except for a couple exceptions, like I mentioned with Kotoko, under 17, that FLAC files might not be easily to acquire around the internet. So in that case, you would need to make them themselves if you care about the high quality audio. I'm not a huge vinyl collector, as you can see. I only have a couple, mostly just albums that, for the novelty of having them on wax, or because that's the only physical version they have that I can acquire. Like for example, Ever Since is also on CD, which to me makes more sense, at least aesthetically speaking. For like that GTBSG Drain Gang. Well, they weren't Drain Gang, but they were like Shield Gang at the time. Kind of era, internet era, should have been like a CD. But it was the only version that I can acquire. Um, but yeah, I guess that's just kind of my general overview of my music taste and my collection. Like I said, I'll be making something maybe a little bit later about how Osu influenced my music taste, because you can see a lot of this stuff. Like I mentioned, most people know that I'm a huge EDM guy, J-core. That was almost notably absent from here. The only real collection I had was T-Pazlite. But the Osu video will kind of expand upon that and explain like how I got into that and the type of artists and music that I listen to. Uh, yeah, I just collect a lot. Maybe not a lot. I just collect when I have the chance to. I don't necessarily go out of my way to do that all the time. Um, as well as shit. What was I going to say? I also want to mention, lastly, it's kind of like a non sequitur, but in terms of like music, in my entire life, I have not attended a single real concert. The reason I say real is because I have attended a couple uh like classical Christmas concerts and stuff. Um, I have a vague recollection of going to like a Smash Mouth cover band at like a town festival when I was like 8, but that's not really considered a concert. I'm not a concert person. That might change though, because KYARY PAMYU is KYARY. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing her name right, which makes me feel deep shame. But KYARY PAMYU is touring. It's going to be in the U.S. She's going to a convention that I'm going to this year. I don't know if she's performing, but if she will, that will be the first time I ever attend a concert in my life. I'm not a concert person for a couple of reasons. The most obvious reason is that I hate going out to do things. But I would say even above that, it's more so like a matter of principle when it comes to listening to music. I'm more of like a technicalities type of person first. Music that's kind of dense, I'm into. I guess like generally speaking. Um, and I like listening to a lot of music on in-ear monitors specifically, high-end in-ear monitors, IEMs, earbuds for the layman, because I like to hear the very minute details of music. Um, One of the most profound times in my life that I've had listening to music ever. The first time I bought my first real like big money high end headphones, which are the Moondrop Blessing 2 Dusks, which was a terrifying experience because they were like for $350 IEMs that I ordered from China, and they were in the mail for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, shit, dude, I just dropped that much money and they're gone. But I got them, hooked them up. I have a DAC and an amp uh, in my computer. I loaded up Flax. I listened to Calafina with Strings, their winter selection. And that album is so slept on, dude. I want to get that on CD now that I'm mentioning it. But Calafina with Strings. I listened to Sprinter, which is like a more kind of acoustic, but they have like some harps and stuff. Uh, Now someone started mowing the lawn. God fucking damn it. I'm going to finish up the story and then I'm done. I swear to God. Hopefully this doesn't pick up too much on the mic. But I listened to Sprinter with Strings, performed by Calafina. And for those who don't know, I am like the biggest fan of Kajiura Yuki. She is like my composer waifu, I guess. Like anything she does, I need to listen to. And I just like vibe with. Uh, her work for the Portrait of Petite Cosette, or what's the Japanese name? Like I used to know the name. It's like something, but Petite Cosette. That OST I listened to like in the car, driving to work and shit. But anyways, I listened to Sprinter, and within the first minute of that song, you can hear the vocalist on the new headphones I got and the new earphones. You can hear her part her lips, like open her lips and begin to sing. And I was like, holy fuck, that's been there the whole time. And it's because of those minute details that it's kind of representative of what I enjoy listening to music. I listen to music mastered in its intended form to be consumed at home. Maybe some music is intended to be consumed live. Like Machine Girl, for example, is an artist who seems to thrive off live shows and hasn't released music in like 3 fucking years because they're just doing live shows all the time. I considered going because they were touring in my city. But then I'm like, I don't want to go to a Machine Girl concert. I would die, literally. I don't think I would make it out alive. But there are some music that's intended to be consumed live, but at least a lot of, like, for example, like Tricop, one of my favorite bands, a lot of Dempa stuff. I like to hear the music mixed properly, because a lot of times when you go to a live concert, the sound is not that good. And like the mixing quality is just like completely blown out, and it bothers me so much. Like on a daily basis, like when I'm driving in the car, there's some music that I straight up can't listen to in the car. 2002 silver Honda Accord, with like probably the minimum spec speakers or whatever. But so that's also my problem. But also it isn't, because we paid like $3,000 for that car and it's lasted forever. But like there'll be some music that I don't listen to in the car because I know it won't sound good in the car. Uh, so like it's kind of like that for like a concert. But if they do Miku Expo again, ever again, I might tease the idea of attending that. I almost went in 2020, but that was the year of the pandemic, so obviously they didn't host it. Uh, and then, like I mentioned, KYARY PAMYU, KYARY PAMYU. I never knew how. It's like one of those words that you have in your head and you've never said before, and then when you say it, it sounds wrong, and you might have been reading it wrong this entire time because I skim everything in my life. I don't actually pay attention to anything. And this video has been rambling on for too long. Uh, the I like Gore shit a lot. I like DJ Sharpnel a lot. I have a stupid ADHD music taste. I've been listening to High C High C's latest EP. Finally got around to it. Uh, it goes hard as fuck. Uh, High C is a good kept secret. He's a good kept secret, I would say. A lot of people know about him, but not enough people know about him that we need it necessarily gatekeep. But not. I'm just extending this unintentionally, maybe intentionally. I don't know what my intentions are anymore. This video has been going on for like an hour and change. Gonna finish things off here. If you have any questions about my music taste or anything that I talked about here, there's a comment box for that specific reason. If you made it here, I apologize for rambling. Uh, and yeah, just remember to stay ugly. Remember to stay ugly and stay based.